Hey there, movie lovers! Welcome back to Mr. American Movies, the place where we break down classic films and hidden gems with all the action, drama, and fun you love. Okay, let's get into the video.
In a world where superheroes exist, Will struggles to discover his powers, despite being the son of two famous heroes, the Commander Steve and Jetstream Josie. On his first day at Sky High, a floating school for superhero kids, Will tries to impress his dad by faking super strength but fails. Steve, proud but oblivious, believes Will will follow in his heroic footsteps. Will's best friend, Lila, who controls plants, joins him for the walk to school. Steve and Josie are called away to fight a giant robot, leaving Will and Lila to head to school alone on the bus. Driven by Ron, Will's status as the son of superheroes gets him unwanted attention. Despite Ron offering special seats, Will sits with his friend Zach, who reveals his powers. Will grows more anxious about his inability to show his own. Ron then launches the bus into the sky, flying the kids to Sky High. At Sky High, bullies Lash and Speed target newcomers until Gwen, the confident student body president, intervenes. Will is instantly smitten with Gwen, who warmly welcomes them and leads a tour of the school. They end up in the auditorium, where Principal Powers greets the students and announces the upcoming power placement test to classify them as heroes or sidekicks. Coach Boomer begins testing powers, starting with Larry, who transforms into stone and is placed as a hero. Zach attempts to impress by glowing in the dark, but is labeled a sidekick, as are Ethan, who turns into slime, and Magenta, who can only shapeshift into a guinea pig. Lila refuses to use her powers, arguing that a person's worth isn't defined by their abilities, earning her a spot as a sidekick. During lunch, Zach grumbles about his placement, and Will notices Warren Peace glaring at him. Lila explains Warren's grudge. The commander once imprisoned his villainous father. Will later runs into Gwen, who invites him to join the homecoming committee, leaving him flustered but eager. Lash and Speed bully Ethan, assuming Will is a hero, and try to recruit him. Will brushes them off without standing up for Ethan. Finally, Will faces the placement test, whispering to Boomer that he has no powers. The coach tests him by dropping a car, nearly crushing him and pushing him off the stage, hoping to see him fly. Will hits the ground hard, realizing he truly has no powers. Boomer humiliates him, announcing that the son of legendary heroes is nothing but a sidekick. Later, Will visits the school clinic after Boomer's harsh test. The nurse assures him he's fine, but warns some kids, like Ron, never develop powers. Disheartened, Will decides to tell his dad. Steve, excited to hear about Will's first day, takes him to his secret superhero bunker filled with trophies. He shows off the pacifier, a device from Royal Pain, proudly sharing how that battle led him to meet Josie. He even reserves a spot for Will's future trophies, confident they'll fight together someday. When Steve asks what's wrong, Will loses his nerve and says nothing. Unbeknownst to them, a hidden device from the giant robot activates, allowing Steve's enemies to spy on him. That night, Will sits on the roof, reflecting on the day. Lila joins him, encouraging him to tell his parents the truth. Will admits he couldn't, after seeing his father's pride. Lila reassures him that powers don't define him, dismissing the test as flawed. The next day, Will attends hero support class with his friends, where Mr. Boy teaches that sidekicks are just as important as heroes. He proudly mentions he was once the commander and Jetstream's sidekick, leaving Will surprised but noticing Mr. Boy's quiet disappointment. After school, Steve meets Will's friends but is unimpressed by their powers. When Will admits they're all sidekicks and that he is too, Steve grows furious, assuming Boomer was to blame. Will insists it's no one's fault and that he has no powers. Shocked, Steve suggests Will might still be a late bloomer. Later, Lila smiles proudly as Will rejoins his friends, relieved to have told his dad the truth. The next day, Will sees Lash and Speed bullying Ron and tries to intervene but is mocked for being a sidekick. During lunch, Lash trips Will, causing him to spill food on Warren. Enraged, Warren attacks, hurling fireballs at Will. Though Will apologizes, Warren doesn't listen. Just as Warren closes in, Will suddenly lifts the table Warren is standing on and throws it aside. To everyone's shock, Will has super strength. Ecstatic, he fights back, dodging Warren's attacks. As Warren prepares another fiery blast, Lila tosses Will a fire extinguisher, and he puts out the flames, ending the fight. Steve, thrilled that Will shares his super strength, rewards him with an Xbox but tells him to keep it secret from Josie, pretending he scolded him. Meanwhile, the villains monitoring through the robot's device continue observing Will's new powers. At school, Will's friends celebrate his success, with Ethan joking that he's made Sidekick history. Mr. Boy informs Will he's being promoted to hero classes. Although reluctant to leave his friends, they encourage him to go. Will moves to Mr. Medulla's hero class, where he's paired with Gwen, the teaching assistant. Struggling with the assignment, Will receives help from Gwen, who uses her technopathic powers. Mr. Medulla scolds them, warning Will to learn independently. After class, Gwen explains her ability to control technology and offers to tutor Will privately. Excited, he agrees to meet her at his house. At lunch, Gwen invites Will to sit with her group, but Penny clones herself to occupy all the seats, forcing Will's friends to sit elsewhere. Disappointed, Will later apologizes to Lila and invites her to dinner at a Chinese restaurant that night, surprising her since he dislikes Chinese food. She happily accepts. Later, Will intervenes when Lash and Speed bully Ethan and Zach. Encouraged by his friends, Will agrees to play Save the Citizen, betting the bullies will stop if he wins. Lash and Speed dominate the game early, using their powers to overwhelm Will and Warren. Will ties Lash to a pole, but notices Warren struggling. Prioritizing his teammate, Will saves Warren and throws him to rescue the citizen, just in time, winning the game. Warren silently walks away without acknowledging Will. That evening, Steve congratulates Will on his victory. In the kitchen, Josie and Gwen wait, and Gwen reschedules their tutoring session. Steve and Josie, impressed by Gwen's skills, invite her to dinner. During the meal, Gwen shares that her mother died when she was young, and her father is no longer active as a hero. She invites Steve and Josie to the homecoming party to accept the Heroes of the Year award, and they proudly agree. After dinner, Will remembers his plans with Lila and runs to the restaurant, but she has already left, hurt by his absence. The next day, Will apologizes to Lila, who suggests Gwen may not be as nice as she seems. Will, still enamored with Gwen, insists she's great and tells Lila he's going to the dance with Gwen. Heartbroken, Lila storms off, and Warren encourages her to confess her feelings. At homecoming, Gwen's true identity is revealed. She is Royal Pain, the villain who battled Will's parents years ago. Using the pacifier, Gwen plans to turn all heroes into babies and take over the world. Her team quickly takes control of Sky High, including Lash and Speed, who are revealed as her accomplices. Gwen captures the adults, including Steve and Josie, and activates the pacifier, transforming them into infants. She then turns to Will and his friends, declaring her plan to destroy Sky High by sending it crashing to Earth. Amid the chaos, Will finally realizes Gwen's manipulation. Despite his heartbreak, he refuses to give up. Gwen's team corners the heroes, and Sky High begins to fall. Will discovers he has inherited his mother's ability to fly, using it to escape. He then lifts the school to safety, preventing it from crashing. With newfound determination, Will fights Royal Pain's team alongside his friends. Zach, Ethan, and Magenta use their powers creatively to outsmart Lash, Speed, and Penny's clones. Will confronts Gwen, who uses her technopathy to manipulate their surroundings. In a final showdown, Will defeats Gwen and destroys the pacifier. Gwen, realizing her defeat, tries to escape, but Warren stops her with a wall of fire. With Sky High safe, Principal Powers restores the adults to normal. Steve and Josie proudly declare that Will and his friends are the real heroes, passing the Hero of the Year trophy to them. Will reconciles with Lila, finally realizing his true feelings for her. They kiss as the school cheers, celebrating the victory together. As the story concludes, Will reflects on his journey. Though he discovered his powers, it was his friendships, courage, and belief in others that made him a true hero.